Hey guys, Nick Stalker with Demonic Procedures here. We're going to take another in-depth look at the material editor and different styles of textures and how to kind of layer these different styles to make a more dynamic material. We're going to be making a crate texture, and I found this really cool crate texture online, and then from that I made some other versions of it. So first we start with this color texture I found online, and it's basically just like the other texture I showed you. It's just the color texture, and you slap it on there and you have a box. Well, that's fine and dandy, but we need some more stuff. So here I made a specular map of that same texture, and what a specular map is it shows the computer what parts of this texture should be shiny and which parts should be kind of dark, not as shiny. So we have like where the white is, it's going to be really shiny. Where the black is, it's basically no shine to it whatsoever. The light's not really going to reflect off of those areas, and that's basically what a specular map does. Over here we have an ambient occlusion map, which tries to tell the computer where the light should affect this more and where it shouldn't affect it as much. And so we have like where it's really white, it's going to be getting a lot of light, and the color is going to be showing through a lot. And where it's black, the color is really not going to show through as much. Where you can see this dark shadow here, and it's kind of dark on this end, and it just gives it a better feel and a better look to the material altogether. And then here, the normal map, probably one of the most important ones. This controls basically the bump of the map and says this is how the texture is going to go. It's going to either it says how the light's going to react to bumps and dents and scratches and things of that nature. If I zoom in here, I know the quality of this texture, the resolution is fairly low, but you can kind of see a scratch here and how this kind of looks like it's pushed out and stuff. And it just basically tells the texture how the light's going to react to these different bumps and stuff like that. I'm not going to show you how to save these out because I've already showed you how to do that. I've saved these to an image size of 256 by 256 and made them targas. So we're going to pick up just on the spot of importing these in and actually making some textures here. We're going to replace this crate texture with the new texture that we're going to create. So I'm going to go into my content browser, and I'm going to go down to my package 2. I'm going to go to textures, and I'm going to go to imports. And now I gotta find my stuff, and I have it here. So I think crate color, crate is the one I want to go with. Crate color, crate normal, crate occlusion, and crate spec. I want to hold control and select these and open them up. And I want to keep them in the same package, and I want to keep the same name, so I'll hit OK. Oh, OK to all, sorry. So now we have our 4 textures in here, our color, our normal, our occlusion, and our specular. So let's create a new material. If I go to materials and I right click, I can go to new material, and I will call this crate material. I can't type today. Crate underscore material, and hit OK. So now we're up into our material editor, which you've seen before, and we're going to go back over to our textures. So we have these, and I'm going to select my crate color texture first and go back into my material, and I'm going to use texture samples for all of these. So I'm going to go to the texture heading, and I'm going to go to texture sample and drag that in. Now it has these nodes here, and what these nodes are is the RGB values, red, green, and blue. And if I plug in just the red into the diffuse, it only shows the parts of the texture that contain red, and so on and so forth. If I were to do the rest, if I hold control and click, I will disconnect that node. Now the black contains all the colors, so therefore it comes out like how it's supposed to look. The white here controls the alpha channel. If this was saved out with a certain alpha channel, it would show up there. And I'll go into that more detail a little later down the line when we start doing that. But for now, we're just going to plug this into the diffuse, and we'll start adding some more textures in here. Next, let's go with the normal, okay? So we'll select that, and we'll go to texture sample and drag that in. And down here on the left-hand side, it says preview material. And if you left-click anywhere in this gray area, it'll move you around, and left and right click will zoom in and zoom out. And over here in this material where you can kind of preview your material, left click will rotate you around it, and right click will zoom in and zoom out of that. So here is our preview material, and we want to plug the normal map into, guess it, the normal. So now we got just a little more depth to this to kind of see what's going on here. If I hit control and deselect that, bring it and connect it again, you can kind of see it gets a little more depth to the texture we have there. Next we'll do our ambient occlusion, so I'll select my ambient occlusion texture, and I'll go to texture sample and bring that in. Now the ambient occlusion dictates the diffuse power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this texture sample out of the way a little bit by holding Control and just dragging this over to the side. And I'll select this one and hold Control and drag it up. I'm going to plug this into the diffuse power. And there we go. So let's add our specular now. Select our specular map here. And we'll drag this in with the texture sample. There we go. And right here we have specular at the very top. So we're going to drag the black and bring in the specular. And now you can kind of see it has even more. As I move this around, you can see how the light's kind of reflecting off of certain areas of the material we have here, and just giving it some more depth and making it look just a little bit better. So let's move these up and out of the way. Just kind of make some room for everybody to get in here like a big happy family. Alright, so now we have all this situation. We have our color placing into the diffuse, the occlusion placing into the diffuse power, the specular placing into the specular, and the normal placing into the normal. So we can close this out and save our material, and it's going to compile things and do things. Now let's drag and let's go over to material first actually, and we see our crate material here, and we can select that and we can just drag and drop this onto our box here, our Boximus 9000, and close that down. Now we can rebuild this and see what we have here. I'll close that out and hit play. And we can come in here and we can see our cool box that we just added, and it has, you can kind of see it has some light reflecting off of it just a little bit in the areas that I assigned it to reflect off of. And even in here I did another one here with the ground where you can see the ground is kind of shiny. I did this one with the speck and the occlusion and the bump and normal and all that good stuff. So it's good to go in here. But in another room I created, I just used the straight color texture. I didn't add any speck or ambient occlusion or normal map. So you can see the difference between this ground here, and then if we go into this room, this ground over here, you can see the shininess, and you can kind of see the cuts and scratches and the pebble stones, and it just gives it, you know, that little bit of realism just helps a lot, and especially when you start getting into your static meshes and things like that. So that's our little bit closer look at the material editor. We are going to be looking at a lot more stuff in there further down the line. I just want to get these kind of basics out of the way so you can create your own textures and have fun with it. So you can really tell from back here, there's really cool bumps and scratches and stuff on that texture there. Let's see if I have time. I do. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my builder brush, and I'm going to make it a 128 by 128 cube and build that out. Oh, let's do 64. I'm sorry, 64 by 64 by 64. Build that out. And I'll go into my front view, if I can select the builder brush. Yeah, come over here. Give me that builder brush. There we go. I'm going to go into my front view and go to wireframe, and I'm just going to move this down to the bottom of the room, and then go into my top view to make sure it's centered. It is. And with my content browser, I'm going to go into my content browser here, open that up, and with my material of the old crate material that I made, that all it has is color in it, I'm going to have that selected, and I'm going to hit subtract, and you'll watch something neat happen. Or maybe you won't. Ow, I'm getting stuff buzzing in my ear here. Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta hit the add button. You can't subtract from that area, buddy. There's already been subtracted. So I'm gonna add, sorry. Alright, drag this on. Meh. I think I'm having issues because of the fact that I subtracted from space that I'm not supposed to subtract from, so delete that. There we go. Now I just have my boxy there. Alright, back into perspective. Unlit. Now let's drag on our textures here that do not want to be dragged on for any reason whatsoever, which is awkward. Let's try to rebuild the geometry. Maybe that might help a little bit. Not helping at all. Well, at least you guys know how to bring in your own cool textures now, even though I can't get it to work. I'm sure you guys can. Right? Anyways, this is bad. This is Nick Stalker with Demonic Procedures. Thanks for watching. Just remember, demons inside.